Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jamie Kramble, Economic Development Officer with Wheatland County. I just wanted to welcome everyone here. The live stream is being recorded. I'm just going to do a brief.
It's not on.
It's not on.
You have to press the.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Kramble, Economic Development Officer with Wheatland County. Here, I'd like to welcome everyone here today to our hydrogen economy stakeholder session. Just a reminder to everyone, this live stream is being recorded, and I'll give a brief overview of the session to everyone online and in person as well. So a little bit about Wheatland County. We're about 7,800 residents. We are directly east of Calgary, Rocky View kind of sandwiched in between us. And we are, I guess, the nearest large urban center would be the town of Strathmore. Major industries in Wheatland are agriculture, energy, and manufacturing. And we're here today to talk about the second one, which would be energy. Two main business areas in the county. We have Origin Business Park and Goldfinch Industrial ASP. Goldfinch's heavy industrial, Origin Business Park would be a light medium industrial area. Value proposition for Wheatland County, we have some of the lowest land costs in the area. Our transportation and proximity, about 36.7 kilometers from Origin Park, which is Rocky View Wheatland border, to Calgary International Airport. We also have major highway access, Highway 1, 22X, and 564 that directly connect to Calgary. We have a CP rail main line, low municipal tax rates, a generous incentive, which I'd be very happy to provide more information on to anyone that's interested. Purpose of the session today. So Wheatland County is holding a session because we're interested in the hydrogen industry and trying to develop an industry. Two main purposes for our initiative. One is to increase our tax revenues, and the other is to create high value employment opportunities. And we've examined many different sectors, and hydrogen seems to be something that we believe is going to grow and become more important. I'll just make a couple of quick introductions to the first two. So Markus Lehmann, who will introduce himself as well. He is Wheatland County's hydrogen specialist. He has been hired to help us produce a hydrogen strategy and to do some engagement with industry. And then we'll have Matthew Klippenstein online from the Canadian Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Association. Markus, are you going to hand it over to you? Or?
Sure, if you wish. Nothing else about the county that you want to
just see
promote about this great county of.
Yeah, maybe I'll go through some additional slides here. Sorry. West Highway 1 ASP. As I was saying, two main industrial areas. This is the Origin Business Park that's right on the Rocky View border. Would make a great location for a Trans-Canada corridor. Some slides. And then we have the Goldfinch ASP area, which is around the hamlet of Carsland, and that features a CP rail line here. Again, Rocky View border is here. This is the Rocky View Wheatland border. The CP rail line runs through, and the hamlet of Carsland would be here. This area features a heavy industrial cluster. You have Nutrien, you would have Orica, you have Stella Jones here, and there's some others, Richardson, Pioneer, Cargill have facilities, Federated Co-op as well. Some photos of the scale. A little bit more on, I can always provide documents if people are interested. It's a map showing the rail line mostly down in the south. A little bit on our tax incentive that can be found on our municipal website as well. We have a non-residential tax incentive for large investments with about a threshold of about 10 million. And the information can be found here in our bylaw. I'd also be very happy to send to anyone afterwards. Energy industry. Wheatland has a large energy industry presently, traditional oil and gas wells. Clean tech is an emerging industry, clean tech or renewables. Several solar projects, also wind projects, and we have a synthetic diesel fuel manufacturing facility called Rocky Mountain GTL. We also feel that we have a good fit for biofuels and for hydrogen production. My contact details. Again, I'd be happy to get in touch with anyone to discuss further, and I'll turn it over to Markus, who's our hydrogen specialist. Markus?
Great, thank you, Jamie. This is an honor to be here at the administrative offices of the Wheatland County. We think there's like you mentioned, a great potential for developing a new energy segment out of the hydrogen economy. And I would like to, if possible, actually pass it off to Matthew.
Yeah, just as a quick introduction, my name's Matthew. I'm with the Canadian Hydrogen Fuel Cell Association. I spoke with Markus this past week, and I've just got a little presentation here that I can go through, some preliminary information, and I'm absolutely happy to take questions and otherwise try to be helpful. I'll try and clear this out in 10 minutes. I think that was a lot of time.
Yeah.
So yes, part of our kind of contractual agreement is we're an industry association. Some members give us a lot of membership fees. So this is just a little acknowledgement for these three guys here. A couple words on the Canadian Hydrogen Fuel Cell Association. So we are an industry association, not unlike the Canadian Electricity Association, or CAP. We're the voice in industry for hydrogen and for fuel cells. We have a track record of government engagement, mainly what we do for our member companies, the folks whose memberships pay my salary. We advocate with government, and we try to help solve problems or make connections for our member organizations. We do have there's about half a dozen of us. There's myself in BC, there's people in Ontario, Quebec. We're affiliated with some folks in Atlantic Canada, and we are working to build up a separate Hydrogen Alberta branch so that we can have boots on the ground in Alberta, wild rose country and so forth. Our interest is in hydrogen emissions. We're agnostic how the clean hydrogen comes from. I'm a chemical engineer by training myself. And I guess one opportunity for Wheatland here is that the sector should outpace growth in more mature industries. Just a token slide of many of our members across Canada. In terms of where we fit with other industry associations you guys might be familiar with, well, our main focus is on hydrogen. Yes, we're adjacent to electricity. You can use clean electricity to make clean hydrogen. You can also make clean hydrogen from hydrocarbons. So just wanted to mention that. We are technology agnostic. There's sort of a rainbow color coding scheme that has been very popular in the hydrogen sector. Everyone in the sector actually dislikes it because it oversimplifies things, but it's just too memorable to quit. So blue hydrogen is typically defined as hydrogen from natural gas, where we capture and sequester the carbon. There are carbon sequestration facilities near Wheatland County. And green hydrogen is generally hydrogen produced using renewable electricity, of which the southern portion of Alberta has both decent wind and solar. Just on a big picture, the reason that we're talking about hydrogen today, as opposed to 20 years from now or 20 years ago, really, is that when governments were making targets in terms of emissions reductions, hydrogen wasn't really needed for the first steps. You could do all that just by papering the landscape with wind turbines, solar panels, and putting batteries in cars. But as soon as you have aggressive policies, you try to get to net zero emissions, you need an absolutely huge amount of hydrogen. So that's kind of why hydrogen is topical these days. In terms of the overall final energy demand in Canada, and I put the estimates for other countries and regions along the right side there, Most of the energy is expected to be provided by clean electricity and a smaller portion by clean hydrogen. So you get this kind of lobster claw type of effect there. We typically talk, at least in the association, a lot of the interest is in hydrogen as a fuel, but it is also a feedstock as well. You can use it as a feedstock for ammonia for fertilizers, clean hydrogen for methanol. It can be used to process iron ore into ore suitable for steel making. It's used in many chemical process industries as well. It can be used for transportation and as well for heat and power. So it's very versatile. There's an idea of pitching it as a sort of Swiss Army knife kind of a thing. Ultimately, what we want to help bring to Canada, to Canadians across the country, ideally in every in every riding, is the opportunity for prosperity, economic growth, while we simultaneously also achieve our environmental goals. And so what I've just got here is a couple stats on the estimated size of the clean hydrogen sector in 2018, about 4 years ago, I guess, and the fuel cell sector, and the potential size in 2050 if we have the properly visionary, maybe, policies in place. And we have had good support from the federal government and a lot of support in Alberta as well. On the transportation side, this is one of the major uses. So I just wanted to give a bit of explanation. Before this role, I worked on electric vehicle infrastructure, trying to figure out how to get charging stations in apartments and townhouse complexes with shared garages. Maybe not so much an item for Wheatland County, but for some of the bigger cities. And you'll know about electric vehicles, about battery electric vehicles, and a decent comparison might be how in nature you have a lot of smaller animals, insects, I don't know, beetles, crab, everything up to the size of perhaps a large crab. You have lots of animals with exoskeletons. For various reasons, you can't beat an exoskeleton when you're a small creature. Your strength to weight ratios, all that sort of stuff is really favorable. And what we have in nature is, even though we have some very small vertebrates, very small creatures with internal skeletons or endoskeletons, once you get to a certain size, pretty much everything has an internal backbone going all the way up to whales and stuff. And that kind of analogy, exoskeletons for small creatures, vertebrates, interior skeletons for large animals, is kind of what the experts see playing out in the transportation space, where smaller vehicles will tend to be battery powered, and the larger vehicles, or the vehicles which need to go further, will tend to be powered by hydrogen and processed through fuel cells. Hopefully that's somewhat relevant. I did my best to look up some info on Wheatland County, but I wasn't quite sure how I could be of most help. We do have a very proud history with hydrogen fuel cells here in Canada. We kind of reinvented the technology back in the 80s, and Canadian companies have shipped to 42 countries around the world. I'm eager to be able to put the 43rd on once the appropriate press releases and so forth come out. Now, I've swum around the hydrogen space for about 20 years. I've been in the sector, out of the sector, working on similar things. And so to add a little bit of lighthearted fare, so a lot of people, when they think about hydrogen, think about the Hindenburg big flaming blimp or bombs. And so our hope is that by providing education, information, and attentiveness to people's very understandable concerns, that we can help this reach its fruition as a big climate solution. Maybe not even just as a climate solution, but again as something we can leverage in terms of overall prosperity. The analogy I would make, maybe if this was like 100 years ago, maybe more than 100, maybe about 200 years ago, back in the day, I don't know, John A. McDonald and those guys might have been a bit perplexed if you told them they'd ride around on carriages powered by a series of controlled explosions, but that's more or less what combustion is. And so we hope that we can help in our outreach and work with Wheatland County's efforts with providing information or insight, or helping to answer very understandable questions people might have in terms of moving this forward. The last analogy, maybe, I love analogies. The last analogy I suppose I'd give is that hydrogen right now is a little bit like cell phones were 40 years ago, where you had the first cell phone networks coming in, and it was kind of weird. Everyone has a landline anyway. Why would you get this big clunky phone that you can't use everywhere? And a lot of people underestimated how big the mobile phone industry would get. I think people are starting to understand how big the opportunity is with hydrogen now, even much more so than a couple of years ago. But I think there's a tremendous opportunity all across Canada, Wheatland County particularly being positioned between a planned Calgary hub and the Southeast Alberta Medicine Hat hub. Hopefully we can help with your guys' development efforts. And I guess just for one last analogy before I close out here, clean electricity is wonderful. I used to work on wind farms back in the day, and hydrogen is also useful. And so I thought I'd like to just lightheartedly riff on that old MasterCard commercial. I'm sure people have a bunch of questions. I'm not sure if I should try and answer them now or afterwards. Happy to take emails and whatnot, but there you go.
Well, Matthew, thank you very much. That was very insightful and gives a quick perspective on what is possible within the hydrogen economy and where that there are opportunities for Canadians and somehow also Wheatland County businesses and entrepreneurs to take advantage of. We'll probably go into a little bit more detail. I wanted to take advantage of this and invite Doug Geeraert to speak about Rocky Mountain Gas to Liquids facility, which is located in the Wheatland County. Some of us might think, well, what is hydrogen? Where does it come from? And who's actually making it? Who's producing it? Who's using it? And I think Doug brings forward a very clear viewpoint on what is possible with ingenuity, innovation, and how using that capability to move forward can bring more economic benefits, not only to the business itself, but to the community in a general aspect. Doug, would you be able to, I think we've now shared or given you permission to share your screen and talk. Are you available?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. If you want to share the screen, you're more than welcome to as well.
Yeah, I don't have a presentation document other than I pulled up a aerial view of our facility, so I'll show that. So you can see our facility, and I'll just briefly describe what it is we're doing. This is a brand new facility that is just in the startup phase. We are producing products now, but Rocky Mountain GTL is a company that is headquartered in Calgary. It's an all Alberta-based group of people that have developed much of the technology here. Gas to liquids itself is a technology that's been around for decades, and essentially what we do is we take natural gas and convert it into a synthetic fuel. In our case, we focus in on the diesel range of molecules. So The process was developed, I guess, in Germany many years ago, and to help feed their war machine when the Allies had shut off supply to fuels. So it's the main reaction, I guess, is called Fischer-Tropsch, and that's the two German scientists that developed it. But it's been around for decades. Sasol, Shell, both have large facilities in the Middle East, and Europe uses GTL produced diesel fuel quite significantly, and it's used in Mercedes-Benz, and in fact Formula One cars. It's a premium performing diesel fuel. This is not a biodiesel that comes from FAME. It is truly 100% replacement product for petroleum-based diesel fuel. It's because we use sweet natural gas. It's zero sulfur, zero aromatics, high cetane, good cold weather starts, a really nice premium fuel that the markets are excited about. The interesting thing about this particular technology is the front end of the plant is steam methane reformer, very similar to conventional hydrogen facilities. We take the products that come out of that front end process and do some further reactions and turn it into diesel fuel. But because we have that front end, we also have the capability to produce significant surplus hydrogen volumes to our needs to make diesel fuel. In fact, this existing facility, which is designed to produce about 60,000 liters a day of synthetic diesel fuel, also has the capability of producing 14 metric tons per day of surplus hydrogen, and it's currently doing so. We use that hydrogen at the moment as fuel in our steam methane reformers, but we're engaging the hydrogen markets quite considerably at the moment to look for the markets that are developing now. We're ready to. We've got it. We're producing it, and this is the only source of surplus hydrogen near the Calgary region. It's in the Strathmore, County of Wheatland. Right behind this plant, you can see the CP rail main line. So this just to locate this plant, it is south of Strathmore on the 817 highway, and right where the 817 turns to the west. That's where the plant is located. So it's close to major arteries, the 901, the 24 highway, the number 1 highway, the CP rail main line. I do want to say that the hydrogen production that we produce here, we would classify, and the color coding, we would classify it as a blue hydrogen, and the reason is we currently don't capture our carbon emissions, which we will be doing, but we sequester half of the carbon into our diesel fuel. And so for a typical hydrogen plant, this facility creates about half of the carbon emission relative to a standard hydrogen facility. We are going down the road of capturing our carbon emissions, and we're very excited about some newer technologies that we're looking at that fit well with this facility to drive our fuel CI down very, very low, and that'll be over the next 2 to 3 years. We'll be working on that. The other thing I'll say about this plant is it's a beautiful design in that Conventional GTL facilities in the Middle East are very large plants, 100,000 barrel a day type facilities or more. We've managed to using some new technology that we've developed and some other technology that others have developed, put it together to allow us to build a very small footprint plant. This plant is designed to really place it strategically across Canada in ideal locations. It's this site, as you see it there, is taking up the plant site, maybe taking up 10 acres, probably more like 7 acres. Although our fence line around there allows us to twin it quite easily. And once it's running at full capacity, it's going to be water self-sufficient. Even though we use a lot of steam, we also produce water in our process. It's going to be water self-sufficient, pretty much very near power self-sufficient because we do waste heat recovery and run steam turbines to generate power. And the only thing we really need to tap into at this point is a natural gas supply, which can be renewable natural gas, by the way, and generate a fully renewable diesel in that sense. So that is, I guess I had 2 minutes. I probably took more than my time. I'll pass it back to Markus.
Yeah, Doug, thank you very much. What a great overview of this really innovative plant. Both Jamie and I had the pleasure to meet with you and your team and see the plant in person. So it was a true sight to be seen, and to see this happening in Wheatland County with excess hydrogen already being produced. So this is a very easy first step location which can be applicable in the hydrogen economy. So working together with Rocky Mountain and other stakeholders to see how we can perhaps Wheatland County can assist you in getting this hydrogen to market at some point as well. That is definitely within our scope and within our vision here. So thank you so much for this overview, Doug, and I'm certain that there's going to be a number of queries coming from not only the people, the public that are watching this today, but as we move along on the hydrogen strategy here in Wheatland. So I'm going to take advantage. I know that a lot has been spoken, and especially Matthew was able to speak of what is the hydrogen economy. I want to give I have a number of slides, but there's one clear slide that I want to put in place. And first, a disclaimer here. If we can just move down one slide. First, a disclaimer. Of course, whatever is presented here, and I believe also with the presenters that have been prior, this is a vision of the market as we move forward. We are not obliged to be beholden to it. So I hope that this is taken as a clear disclaimer. Now, Jules Verne, in the 1800s, he came up with a comment where he believes that water will one day be employed as a fuel, that hydrogen and oxygen, which constitute it, will be used either singly or together, furnishing an inexhaustible source of heat and light of an intensity which coal, at that time, coal was the major factor of energy. Coal is not capable. We have transitioned since that moment of time where Jules Verne was speaking of the importance of coal into oil and gas and hydrocarbons, and we are at the cusp, what many experts in the area do believe, of a new area that will be the hydrogen economy. Now, I want to give on the next slide, there's a clear overview of what is the hydrogen economy. So these are projections from very astute reporting agencies, BP, British Petroleum Energy, the International Energy Association, Shell, Power Fuels, and also Bloomberg New Energy Finance, ACIL Allen report as well. At this current time, over the last 10 to 15 years, there's been a trajectory of hydrogen growth of approximately 1% annum. That growth from 2022 forward will go into a very Canadian scope, and it will climb in a hockey stick growth pattern from approximately 100 megatons per year per annum up to 20 megatons per year. These are terawatt hours, up to 20 megatons per year by 2030, and up to 600 megatons per year by the year 2050. We are looking at an extensive growth, and this is not a one-off growth projection by a astute analysis. These are across the boards analogies which are taking place, and with the passing of the Inflation Reduction Act in the United States just yesterday, I believe it was passed, that growth of the hydrogen market has become a commonplace understanding within the entire industrial market. So in the United States now, with this act now passed, there will be an incentive to produce low carbon intensity hydrogen. Green hydrogen is expected, or the lowest intensity hydrogen is expected to actually surpass blue hydrogen in cost, or surpass or diminish cost by being available at a production tax credit of $3 per kilogram. That capacity of producing green hydrogen will ultrapass blue hydrogen and be available at 1.25 or $1.25 a kilogram of production capability. We have blue hydrogen production at approximately at 1.5 to 2.5, depending on the jurisdiction. So we will see an incredible increase of hydrogen production as it then goes through the industrial scopes and different areas of segment diversification. I can show one more slide here, I think, just the next slide, that gives the hydrogen life cycle. So we see production facilities from nuclear, from renewable, from biomass that go through an electrolysis process, and the current process that we have, which is using natural gas as a feedstock and going through a steam methane reform and into the production facilities and storage. And we will see this proliferate throughout the entire economic segment. Now, Wheatland is very well placed to take advantage of this transformation. We're not shifting from oil and gas from one day to the next, but we're incrementing the economic base and the revenue capacity of the county and Canada in and of itself. So we have great resources here. We have a natural gas resource basin at our disposal, which we can produce low carbon fuels such as Doug, which Doug has demonstrated with the Rocky Mountain fuel to GTL plant, and other pyrolysis aspects which are capable, so that those industries will proliferate here in Wheatland County. And we also have a very, very intense and very high capacity factor renewable energy source at our disposal here, both wind and solar, as has been demonstrated with a number of facilities being constructed in the Wheatland County. So we can migrate and blend those capacities together with a service industry and a service corridor, which is very capable of exploiting these elements and these transformations to service not only the Calgary area and the outlying southeast area, but also as a service area towards the major producing factor or elements within the heartland area. So Wheatland can become what I would say a corridor for all of the hydrogen production capabilities that will come into play in the not only the near term, but the at present term and long term over as it extends through its capabilities. And Matthew gave a projection that Canada will have approximately 30% of its energy matrix occupied by hydrogen by 2050. I want to give a quick example of an entrepreneur that is looking at the hydrogen space and sees the opportunity which is available, and maybe just pass the microphone to Scott Silva here, who looks at a potential application of hydrogen fueling stations on existing infrastructure, on light industrial area, which is already in play, and how that potential might play out if all the cards work out. Scott, would you have a moment?
Thank you, Marcus. Just excited to be here and excited to be part of Wheatland County in this new endeavor. Yes, we are at our infancy right now, just exploring some opportunities around the distribution side of hydrogen in Origin Business Park, specifically in Tour Blue developments. That being said, it's really been a testament to some of the leaders here in this room today, both Marcus and Jamie, putting together some of these teams. So excited to work with New Day Hydrogen and also Caribou low carbon fuels. Sorry, getting a little tongue-tied, but thank you very much. Excited for the opportunity and the chance here to work in Wheatland County.
Great, thanks for being here. And this is a stakeholder engagement session. So actually, we wanted to turn out. I was speaking to the participants here. There are few, but also there were very few participants in the internet transition, and not only 25, 30 years ago. So this will definitely change, but we have a number of people online, and we would like to see if there's any questions or comments. There is a Q&A sector up above if there's any questions or comments, because we want to get as much feedback, not only from the stakeholders, Wheatland ratepayers, but also the adjourning and connected stakeholders of business opportunities, business leaders that look at Wheatland as an opportunity to perhaps do some of their own business. So if you have a raise a hand question or a question, please feel free to go forward. Otherwise, we can also just hand it over to Matthew for a last, perhaps quick last comment, Matthew and Doug, and then close it off with Jamie.
Okay, so hello, just want to show my face here. Yes, when I've gone to public forums like this, it's usually what happens is that the questions I get come to me later on. So absolutely, if you guys have any questions, just reach out through the hosts here. If you don't, you probably don't have my direct email, and I'll be happy to try and provide answers and context for the questions that you might have. Otherwise, as an association, we're very encouraged, very enthusiastic about the enthusiasm for hydrogen in Alberta. It is a great opportunity, and we have some of the fastest moving regions here in terms of capitalizing on it.
Thank you, Matthew. Doug, do you have any last comments?
Well, I would just reiterate what Matthew said. If anybody has some questions or comments, wants to get a hold of me, you can do so through Markus and Jamie. Also, we've taken a leap here when COVID hit and shut down industry. We've just carried on. Gathered capital and finished the construction of this facility. Fortunately for us, we've come out of that, and the economy's changed significantly. fuel requirements. Fuel demand is up, pricing is up, and so we're pretty happy with where we sit right now. This facility is prime for expansion, and in some of the expansion that we're looking at, although I mentioned we'll be doing 14 tons per day, or doing 14 tons per day of surplus hydrogen, our expansions will move that up to 30 tons per day or more in the short term.
I just wanted to thank everyone. Hold it down. Right. Just wanted to thank everyone for attending today and giving us for the great presenters that were able to share a little bit more about the industry. Just wanted to reiterate that our pursuit of hydrogen comes as identifying that as a new opportunity that could result in high value job creation and tax revenue. We see at the county, hydrogen is part of an energy mix or energy basket as an emerging opportunity that's driven by industry and by private demand through private industry. And that, energy of all forms. We have both renewable and oil and gas in the county, and we'd like to, leverage the opportunity for our small businesses. We have manufacturers of pumps and equipment, and we have fabrication shops and so forth. And so we hope eventually to attract a production facility, or have a production facility expand, have fueling and distribution networks, and then also to see the growth of supporting industry as well. So I see lots of opportunities there, and want to capitalize on that with the creation of hubs and corridors. We want to be part of that, and we want to bring part of that to Wheatland, because we see ourselves as being a great fit in this industry. So for any questions at all, you can put them in the Q&A, or you can even just raise your hand. There's a little raise hand icon there.
And we can unmute the mic.
Yeah, we can unmute your mic. So if there's anyone has a question at all, I'll wait a couple of minutes and see.
I think we're good to go.
Okay, we want to thank everyone again for being here today. And as we stated earlier, please reach out, contact us if there's any questions. Very interested to engage with industry and try to see what we can do with this. And Markus is going to be working on a strategic plan and doing engagement with industry. And we really want to drive this. So thank you for everyone who attended today, whether online or in person. And again, we see this as the beginning of the journey. We want to bring hydrogen to Wheatland. Thank you very much.
Go.